Hello, I made this video outside, but it's a nice, beautiful summer day out. Okay, here's a mystery. That little effect right here that just came into this video, I did not put that there. I didn't do anything with this video at this point except load it up off my phone that I recorded it and then loaded it up in here, and did not put that effect or any effects at all on this video at this point. So I have no idea what that was or where it came from. All right, back to the other mystery that this video is about, and that's the story that follows. Just so much activity going on around me. My neighbors pulled in with their kids, and my other neighbors mowing his lawn and so forth. I live in the center of the village. So I wasn't comfortable with it. I decided to come in where I also don't feel like I have any privacy. You know, I never know who's like listening and wondering who I'm talking to. So I wanted to pose a question that I have asked myself for years. And what is it that stopped me from falling into a trap that I will get to shortly? Now, I covered this story once or twice. Called Stone House Where Evil Presided. You could say, and I will say, most of the hauntings are harmless, but some of them aren't. And this was a case where it definitely was not harmless. Whatever was in that house, demonic, I don't know, it was evil. I had scars from it for a while, put it that way. That's when I moved out. And my daughter was pushed out of the place. It didn't like my daughter. My friend Russell, he was 41 years old at the time. Fit, 6'1", 6'2", prison guard. Tough, no-nonsense guy. I saw him get attacked twice. Physically attacked by something invisible that drove him right out the front door. And the second time, he was in tears, hysterical, telling me I needed to get out of that house. There was something really bad in there. But it never bothered me up to a point, and didn't bother my son Timmy either. Certain people it didn't like. Well, I was living there alone. I always lived it chased my daughter out. And my son Timmy and her went back to the other side of New York State, which is a big state, and lived with their mom at that time. Watch the video, you'll hear what happened in that regard. But I wound up living there alone. And I didn't have a problem up to one point. Suddenly, I did. And I was an active duty training sergeant in that little town. They had a National Guard company. I started out my Army career in the 82nd Airborne. And later on, I wound up doing different things, active duty. I got my 20 years. But I was a training sergeant in the Armory for that Whitehall's National Guard. It's no longer there anymore. I didn't do drugs, went to church 3 times a week, and I experienced a lot of hauntings in that town, for sure, and this town, for that matter, everywhere. But at that time, you wouldn't hear me talking about them like now. Maybe I'd tell my mom about it on the phone, and she always said, don't give it she kept telling me, don't even speak about it. Don't give it any energy. Like, just by me talking about it was encouraging it. I'm waiting for this fly to land. I got some dish soap and water in here, better than Raid. And I'm pretty handy with this. I'm gonna get that fly. Sorry, keeps interrupting me. So I found these pictures. Here's a picture, and there's a couch. That comfortable couch that, I wound up just living downstairs. I went upstairs because that's where the bathroom was. And other than that, I just stayed downstairs. I wasn't afraid of the upstairs. I wasn't afraid of anything. That place, you'd think I would have been, because my daughter was haunted right out of there. My friend Russell was haunted. He couldn't even show up to drink a few beers with me on a Friday night. And he was being attacked. Never seen anything like it. Never. But it happened in my house. You'd think I would be worried about it. I wasn't, because of my faith in God. That's what it was. My faith in God. It can't hurt me. God will not allow it to harm me. God won't allow it. It can't do anything to me. That God won't, He won't. I have faith, seriously. And I still do in that regard. And I had a resolve never to run from a place. But I did wind up moving out of that place eventually, because there was, watch the video. Here's where my big question comes in. I came home from work one day. Here's another picture of me looking corny. That was me then. I was a nerd. Believe it or not, I could probably run 25 miles. I was really quite fit. Very fit. Run up and down mountains and always out in the woods. But pretty much a nerd, bit of a nerd. But there's the couch in question behind me. My comfortable couch. I remember that couch, how comfortable it was. That was my bed. That was my bedroom. You live alone. Like now, my living room became my bedroom. So I don't have to heat a whole house or what have you. I rarely had visitors. Very, very rarely. So one day I came home from work at the armory as a training sergeant. And I just went to plop down on my couch. I wasn't thinking ghost. I wasn't feeling anything apprehensive. I didn't have any vibes of any sort other than it's good to be home. And I can't wait to plop down on my couch for a while and relax. And here's where it comes in, the question. Right in midair, when I was plopping down, right before I'd say my buttocks, back, legs, and butt, they're probably about that far from hitting that cushion, something inside of me just said, no, wait. And I put my arms down and kind of lifted up and then turned around real slow, and something inside of me told me there was something in the cushion. I couldn't see anything on the surface. Nothing was protruding. I got down on my knees. I looked at the couch cushion, and then I pressed down on it, and a pen stuck up through. When I pressed down, a needle poked up through. I'm like, what the heck? And I took the cushion, I turned it over, and there was like a pearl, plastic pearl, stick on one side, and I pulled out this hairpin that long that had been placed up in the cushion. And it was just the right size. If the cushion was this wide, this hairpin was that long. And it was just an old, not a hairpin, a hat pin. Because I didn't know what it was, honestly. It was antique. But I've looked it up. It was a hat pin. Like I guess they used to use, in the old days, women would pin so they could pin their old hats up to their hair. I want to state that I never saw that hat pin. This is just an image of hat pins I got off the web. But I never saw that hat pin. I have no idea where it came from, let alone how it got where it was. Whatever, And, you look in the old pictures, women didn't wear their hair down. When they went out, they put up in a bun and they'd pin a hat to it quite often in the olden days. Well, that's what this was. And it was rusty, too. It was sharp as heck and springy, as I recall. Good steel, but it was rusty. And it had a little pearl-sized white plastic pearl size on one end, and it was just a needle pen that long. And where it was in the cushion was precisely where I would have landed with all my weight and inertia, plopping down on that couch. I would have caught that right in somewhere very sensitive. It was right in the middle of the cushion. I would have caught that. That thing would have gone all the way. It would have buried all the way through. Could have hit all kinds of things. I mean, all kinds of things. Bladder, family jewels, intestines, colon. And it was a rusty pen. And whatever put it there, who knows what nastiness. The injury and the infection that I could have gotten from that would have been substantial. And I'm going to tell you, for months, I thought somebody broke into my house and did that. But I couldn't figure out who, because I didn't have any enemies, and why they would do it. I couldn't come up with it. I couldn't. But the question is, and it still remains to this day, what powerful, I wouldn't call it intuition. Something in me said, stop. Something inside of me said, stop, wait. Enough that I stopped right in mid-plop and caught myself like that and arched up so my butt didn't hit the cushion. And then I slowly turned around and something told me that there was something in the cushion. What told me this? I would sure like to harness this power. It would be very helpful. And if I could figure out how, I will share it with you. Because that's almost like a superpower there. What told me? I didn't hear a voice saying stop. Just something inside me said stop. And enough. And I wasn't thinking that there was anything harmful towards me in my house. It was my house. That's all. Now, you would think I would be thinking this after the things that had happened there. So I've often wondered, was that a guardian angel? Was it my own spirit? Was it God that stopped me? I would have gotten hurt badly. Badly. And then left to figure out who put that in there. And for quite a while, I was going through my head, trying to figure out who would do this to me. And I finally figured out nobody did. That whatever was bothering my daughter, whatever physically attacked my friend Russell twice, driving him right out the front door to the point where I'd never seen this man act this way. He wasn't a drug addict at all. I mean, he was married with kids. He was a sergeant in the New York State prison system there, and a sergeant in the guard. And he believed in God. And the guy was in tears telling me I needed to get out of that house. You'd think I'd be concerned, but I wasn't. I should have been, because I got attacked by that thing again. And this time, if I wasn't quick, once again, it was going for my midsection. And here's the thing. Well, my kids were with me briefly there until my daughter was driven out. And my son was never bothered. But they both went to go live. But they were with me long enough that I enrolled them in school there. And they came home one day telling me the kids were poking fun of them because we lived in that house. And I guess some years before I moved in there, the place sat empty for quite a while. And the kids were telling them that the woman killed her husband in that house and then killed herself in that house. And I never could substantiate it. You know, I didn't really want to. Honestly, you know, I didn't want to. Back then, I just didn't want any part of this haunting stuff, but it was happening to me all the time then too. But so my question stands, what stopped me literally 1 second, if not less, probably a half a second, before I would have hit that cushion and caught that thing full force? It would have buried. Unless it hit bone, it would have gone right through me. It would have poked through my bladder, to whatever it hit. It would have been awful. I would have been injured badly. And I was deeply, deeply upset about, deeply troubled about who would do that to me, until I figured out finally, it settled in that the spirit did that to me there. And once again, I didn't care, because I actually felt validated that God was looking out for me, because it stopped me from getting injured. And I'll bet you that evil spirit was watching that, and I'll bet it was like furious that it didn't work. And here's the thing also that I thought about. That needle was placed in a place right in that cushion, right exactly where I was going to plop down that day. Full force, butt first, like you plop down. When you're young, you don't just sit down gently on a couch. You plop down. And that's what I was going to do, but caught myself. It knew, and I've said before on this channel, I believe at least some spirits, if not all, can see into the future. So that thing knew I was going to come home and plop down on that couch directly right there. And if it got hold of, I don't know how, an antique looking hat band that was the exact length of the width of that cushion. The cushion was like that wide, that hat band was that wide. Because I only had to push down a little bit and it poked up through. Where it got that hat pin, I have no idea. That fly, your days are numbered. Definitely have a zero tolerance for flies. I'm so good with this thing, I can usually blast them right out of the air, but it's distracting me. So that was that. Now the other thing I wanted to bring up in this question was, as I said when I covered this story, my landlord came to my place of work, which she never did before, and she was hysterical. She told me that she saw a very, very, very strange, odd, weird, strange-looking woman in my house. She lived right across the street from me. This big old brick house. God bless her. It was a long time ago. She was an older woman then, but rather kind of attractive. And I'm pretty sure she was kind of interested in me in ways because she invited me over for dinner more than once. And she kept telling me that she saw a very, very, very strange. She said, you would have had to have seen this woman. She said, I was afraid for your life. She went into my place with a handgun, and once she told me that, I'm like, whoa, whoa. Because wasn't like now, right now it said, what'd she look like? Thanks for doing that. No, not then. I actually called the cops on her for going into my place with a gun. Because what if somebody was in there and she would have shot somebody? I said, tell her not to go into my place with a gun. And I don't want to press any charges, but I don't want this to happen again. And the woman apologized to me. And looking back, I shouldn't have done that. But I was just so fed up with weird stuff in my life. I mean, I'd like to go back in time and apologize to her for doing that. She was just trying to look out for me. And we talked after that, and there wasn't any lingering hard feelings. But looking back, I feel kind of bad about that. But she kept telling me that this woman, this looked very, very strange, bad, and it was like somebody who doesn't believe in ghosts or demons, having seen one, describing it to somebody. She said she was afraid for my safety, that this woman looked really bad and very, very odd and strange. Bad. She was really shook up. I don't know what, I wish I would have asked her. I get an image in my head of this dark, nasty, witchy looking thing, with dark, kind of ethereal, dark black dress and just evil. It was evil. It tried to, like I said, it attacked my friend Russell twice. It attacked my daughter, not physically like it did Russell, but it drove her out, my kids out, and I was really glad to have my kids living with me. And it tried to hurt me badly, tried to injure me, and it did injure me. It finally succeeded in injuring me pretty bad when I was in the bathtub. Turned the whole bath water, my nice hot soapy bathtub water, scarlet red in about 10 seconds. It cut me up pretty bad. And if you want to watch that video, that's on in the description. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of that house. And I found a picture of that house. And my old 1976 Mercedes 300D. I love that old car. Got it for a song and dance, but that's the house. It wasn't really so much made of stone, but you could see why I think of it as the stone house. The stairs come down. You can't see them, but they come down the side there to the left. That's it. The upstairs room on the left, that was my daughter's room that I just pretty much put off limits after she had a lot of problems in. All right, so that's the place. Wonder if it still has problems, or for that matter, if it's still there. Beautiful, charming, odd house set up on a stone ledge in the village. The only one of its kind. But definitely something bad there. And I know right next to it, there used to be a British Army garrison, like from the mid 1700s. So people have been living there for quite a while, colonial times. And I saw Bigfoot, but it was a demonic entity there. So I encountered that. So there's all kinds of powerfully strange things in that town that I encountered. And so if you have any thoughts, I probably won't know the answer. I'm certain I won't until I go before the Lord and I'm gone from this world. But what the heck stopped me a split second from hitting that booby-trapped couch? What said stop? Strong enough that I stopped. And I wasn't thinking anything scary or apprehensive. But I'm right in mid-plop, stop. And I stopped. And then got back, turned around, and got on my knees and pressed down. And sure enough, needle pops up through. I'd like to know what that was. I'd like to harness that power. And like I said, if I ever figure it out, I'll share it with you. But probably was something to do with God, I'm certain. Guardian angel or the Lord, or maybe just my own spirit. I don't know. And I never really emphasized that my landlord was hysterically upset. She was deeply upset. Whatever she saw scared her. But she went in there with a gun looking around. I don't think she believed in ghosts. She thought it was some kind of weird, dangerous looking woman in my place. And there was nobody there, by the way. When she went in there, she didn't find anybody. Should have told her something. I didn't talk to her about it much, but we got along after that. I mean, I probably apologized to her. I was upset. The whole thing upset me deeply. And honestly, every time I wound up in another haunted house, I was just upset, like, why me? I was sick of it. I just wanted to get on with my life, live a normal life, as a family man. No different than anybody else, really, in that regard, that enjoys having a wife and kids and stuff. God designed that. He designed us to be family people. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Though nowadays people think I'm digressing. I wasn't into all this haunting stuff. And so I was really, every time this stuff happened, I had an aversion to it. Like, I don't even want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. You know? To the point that this woman comes into my place with a gun. I moved out of there shortly after that. I moved out of that town. All right, take care. God bless each of you. The carnival's in town, and I can walk to it in about 5 minutes. I'm going to head up there shortly, see what's happening at the beer tent. Clams, hot dogs, band. Cool. Take care. Tell me what you think if you have any ideas, thoughts. Thanks. Bye. Till next time.